Hi, welcome back. And today we are going to make Rhonda's famous cheesecake, famous amongst family and friends. Maybe be famous amongst YouTubers, maybe. Anyway, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make the crust of the cheesecake. This is actually a three-step process of making the cheesecake. So the first thing is I'm going to be doubling the cheesecake because cheesecake in my house goes very fast. So I do need to do a double batch. So one batch calls for 8 tablespoons. So 2 batches call for 2 tablespoons. And I'm going to melt this in the microwave until it's melted completely. No chunks or anything. And what I have here is I have a glass bowl, like a good sized glass bowl, because later I'm going to add the graham crackers. I'm going to take it over to the microwave and make sure you have all your paper off. So my butter's all melted, so I'm going to set that aside. And as I said before, I'm doing a double recipe. So normally to make the graham cracker crust, you need 2 cups. I've always used 2 heaping cups. So I have done measurements, and I know that an entire box, which is like 3 of these, an entire box of graham crackers will make 4 heaping cups of graham crackers. So I need this entire box to be blended. And I'm using a food processor. Now you can go ahead and you can use, go ahead and put this in a Ziploc storage bag and then take like a wooden mallet or a spoon and crumble it all up into crumbs. Now, some people might ask, why aren't I using the graham cracker crumbs that come already crushed? I don't happen to like those ingredients in there. They add some extra ingredients and it's almost too thin to me, and I like it a little thicker. So I have always done where I crush the graham crackers. I think maybe once or twice I tried the pre-done graham crackers. I didn't care for it. So I'm going to use a food processor, and I will show you the consistency of how it needs to look in the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit at a time and then pour it into my bowl, because if I try to do too much, it's never going to mix properly. But I am going to help it along. Let's see, I'm going to change the angle of the camera so you can see. Okay. I am going to help it along by kind of pre-breaking it up a little. And yes, I did taste test one to make sure they're nice and fresh. Always want to make sure of that, especially if they've, now these I bought fresh. I actually just wanted a little bit of a graham cracker, to be honest with you. But if you have some graham crackers that have been sitting, you definitely want to make sure they're not stale or anything, because that would make the whole crust taste terrible. So when using a food processor, you don't want to overfill it, but you also don't want to underfill it. So I think I'll do like half the amount I have here, and then I'll blend it, and then I'll pour it in the bowl. I'll see where I'm at with it. So if you double batch, it's a whole box. In any recipe, if you know that, you might want to like make a note about it when you write down your recipe, just so you know for future reference. I have developed my own cookbook where it's all my favorite recipes. And so I have little notes to myself about double batches and single batches and whatever works well. So, I'll get this. Okay, let's see how we're looking. Okay, this looks good. I'll take the blade out, and I'm going to pour it in here. So this is consistency right there. And I'm just going to pour it in with my butter to the graham crackers. And what I wanted to tell everybody is tomorrow's my husband's birthday, and this is his favorite cake. This is the cake that he always asks for every single birthday. Even when we've had birthday parties for him and I have to make a big other type of cake, I'll still make this cake. This is not for a huge crowd, or you would be making many, many cheesecakes. Because everybody I've served this to, they really just love it. Okay, so now I just took a fork, and I'm mixing this up with a fork. Hope everybody's having a great day. Now, after I make this cheesecake crust and I put it in the pie tin, it must sit a minimum of an hour in the fridge. Now, you can literally make this the day before. If it sits overnight, there's no problem at all with that. So the hardest problem for me today is my refrigerator broke. I do have a spare fridge out in the garage that I'm using. So I'm going to have to make room for these 2 cheesecakes to sit. So that's going to be the hardest part about doing this today for me personally. Hopefully that does not happen to you. Okay, so now we got our graham crackers. We got our butter. So the next thing is confectioner's sugar. So if you were making a single batch, it'd be a ½ cup. So we need a full cup of confectioner's sugar, which is also known as powdered sugar. I need a cup, so I'm going to measure off a level cup of powdered sugar. And I just ended up putting the powdered sugar into a container, and it seems to be really working a lot better for me than having to fight the bag all the time. So a cup of the powdered sugar, and then again, we'll mix it up. And you want to get all those little clumps out that sometimes you have. Sometimes it's nice if you don't have a glass bowl to get a glass bowl, because if you do have a recipe where you can melt the butter and then add other ingredients, a big glass bowl works well. This one's from an old mixer that I had many, many years ago. I don't know how easy it is to find a nice big size glass bowl. I have 2 of them, so I haven't gone looking for one. Ceramic bowl would work too, as long as it's microwave safe. Okay, so the next, so we got our graham crackers, sugar, butter. Next thing is a teaspoon of cinnamon. So we're doing a double batch, and so that would be 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. But if you watched my channel before, you know that I love cinnamon, so I'm just going to do 1, 2, and I'm doing a heaping. So it's probably maybe 3 or 4, and I'm just going to add a little bit extra cinnamon just because we love cinnamon in my family. So I modified my own recipe and even put more cinnamon in because I love it. So I'm just going to mix this around, and sometimes I do that. Sometimes I just do a little bit more. Sometimes I do the exact amount, but sometimes you can just do it according to the way you would prefer it. Now, some people make their cheesecake in a spring pan, and I honestly have never done that. I don't even own a spring pan. I make my cheesecake in pie pans, glass pie pans to be more specific. I'm going to put this down. I'm using the spoon to kind of go into the corners. And this smells very good already. Some people might want to just eat it like this. Of course, if I have extra, I'm probably going to taste test it, because it already smells so good. I'm actually using the spoon to somewhat smush it down. And my dogs are in the back. They love the smell of cinnamon. Okay, and I'm going to just take this other one because I just want to make sure that I kind of have it somewhat even. I might have a little bit extra, but that's okay. To me, this is the hardest part about making room in your fridge. That's difficult if you're dealing with a small fridge. And doing the crust, to me, is the most difficult part. And then getting everything out. To me, sometimes the hardest part is getting everything out that I need to do whatever I'm cooking. Once I get everything laid out, it's usually smooth sailing. Okay, I think I'm going to put a little bit more on this other one. I'm going to just leave a little bit behind for me to test taste in a minute. And I might, hopefully I don't have too much. Okay, so now I'm going to push this down like this, as thin as I can get it. And then I'm going to go up the sides, going around here to pack it really hard. This is where if you played in the sandbox as a kid, it will be good because you'll have the experience of packing it, because you got to pack it hard like you do when you are making something in a sandbox. And to me this is a bit tedious, but it's worth the effort to do it right. Have very good crust. Okay, so I also have a little device here. This is actually a server, but this works really well to press it down. And I'm pressing very hard. If you have one of these, it's really good. Maybe even a regular server would work. Some people might actually take another pie tin and like maybe even a metal one and press it down. That'd probably work well. So whatever you think would work good with what you have. Go around in a circle. It's like this one I just noticed. Use your spoon. You're trying to get it as thin as you can, even though you have a lot. It needs to compact hard. Try not to rush through this part. In the past, if I've tried to rush through this part, it makes a huge difference on the final outcome. If you rush it, it's not going to be as good, because it will get in the refrigerator, will get very hard. But the harder you press it down, the firmer the crust will be. So when you take out a piece, it'll be really nice. And it won't fall apart. You rush it, and there's a good chance it's going to fall apart. Okay, I'm going to do the other one, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so now I have my 2 graham cracker crusts ready to go, and I just need to go ahead and put it in the fridge for a minimum of an hour. I could have probably done that last night if I would have had the time, and then I would have been ready to do my pies. Now we're going to do step 2 of doing the Rhonda's famous cheesecake. Okay, so I have my graham cracker crusts that have been in the refrigerator probably over an hour. And now it's time for the filling. In the meantime, I have preheated my oven to 375. And now I'm going to make the filling. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to crack 4 eggs into a bowl. And I do it in a separate bowl because if there's ever a problem with the eggs, where you have a shell in the egg, or all of a sudden there's something that's not right with the egg, then it's not going to mess up your other ingredients. So I always like to go ahead and make sure there's nothing weird going on with my eggs. So if you're doing a single batch, it'd be 2 eggs. I'm doing a double batch, so it's going to be 4 eggs. And of course, I have the shell in here, so I'm going to have to take the shells out. This seems to be a chronic problem with me. And so I'll do that. Maybe. Try to get the shells out. Okay. Got it. All right, so now I'm going to take a fork and I'm going to pre-beat the eggs up. I'm going to go ahead and go wash my hands. So the next step is the cream cheese, which it says softened cream cheese. So I've had it on the counter for a little while, and the recipe, if you're making a single batch, calls for 12 ounces of softened cream cheese. I am doubling it, so I need 24 ounces, and each one of these is 8 ounces. So 8 times 3 equals 24. So I need to put all this cream cheese into my bowl. So I'm going to do that. So I have my eggs, I got my cream cheese, and so got the 2 beaten eggs, I got my cream cheese, sugar, I need a cup of sugar. So when measuring sugar, you need to level it off. I use a knife, or you can use a flat spatula. So 1 cup of sugar for a doubled batch. If you were making a single batch, it'd be a half a cup. If it was a single batch, I'd need a half a teaspoon of vanilla. And so I need a full teaspoon of vanilla. And then it says a half a teaspoon of salt. So I need a full teaspoon of salt, but I'm just going to do kind of like a little dash. I don't like to add too much salt to my baking stuff. So I'm just going to do kind of like almost a teaspoon, but not quite. So now I'm going to add the eggs into the cream cheese and sugar and the salt and add that all together, and I'm going to take it over to the mixer. So you want to use this type of dough hook if you have it. If you're using a different type of mixer, just make sure you're not using a whisk and you're not using a dough hook for bread and stuff like that. So I'm going to start mixing this up very thoroughly. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I take a rubber spatula and scrape the sides down. So if you do a lot of baking, I would recommend getting a rubber spatula. It's good for scraping the bowls. Because stuff, I don't care how good your mixer is, stuff is going to get stuck on the sides. Okay. All right, here we go again. Okay. Normally I would just keep on going, but what I would like to show everybody is how it's progressing. So, I hope you can see. Okay, see, there is like still lumps in there, so you don't want that. So you need to keep on mixing it. It's going to take a while. It's not going to be a quick one. Although it looks like it's somewhat mixed up, it really isn't. We need to have it look very smooth. Okay. So it still has some lumps in it. So I'm scraping the beaters. I'm scraping the sides. And I almost want it like as close to liquid as I can get it. So it's not quite ready yet. Okay. So now it is ready. I'll show you what it looks like here in a minute. Oh, my hands are all sticky. I'm getting all the batter off of as much as possible off the beater. I'm attempting to put that down without making a huge mess. Okay, so this is how smooth it looks. So now the trick is to make sure that I have even mounts here in each one of the graham cracker crusts. I'm glad I didn't go too far with my rubber spatula because this is a thick batter. So I have to really go ahead and use the rubber spatula to kind of get it off even the ladle. Okay, let's see if I can hurry things along here. Scrape it out. Kind of be even. Okay, now I think it's time for me to switch to the rubber spatula. Over this side. Get all the rest of this off of here. Then take and spread it as evenly as possible. Now, in case anybody missed it the first time, I have my oven preheating. It's already preheated to 375. And I'm going to try to put it as best as possible in the middle rack. So I actually move the rack, so I'm in the middle of the oven. So I move the rack so that it would be in the middle, because I don't want the bottom to burn and I don't want the top to burn. I'm trying to have this be even. This end up popping up a little too. Okay, so I'm going to put this in the oven. Let's melt that off there. On 375, I'm going to set the timer for about 20 minutes to start. That's what the recommendation is 20 minutes. Depending where you live, your elevation, the heat of your oven. It used to be I could set it for 20 minutes, one of the ovens I had, and it'd come out perfect. But I'm going to check it, and I'm going to check it along the way so that you can see the way it progresses and when it is done. So I'm going to pop these in the oven, and I'll be right back. You can see it's been about 15 minutes here. And we're going to, remember I said that it's about 20 minutes. And I'm going to pull this out and just take a look-see. And you can tell it's still kind of jiggly, and it will be a little bit jiggly. But it's very, very close. So we're going to check again in about 5 minutes or so, because it's getting very close. See how it's going? I better pull it out a tad. It's smelling very good. It's ready to come out. It smells very good. Top has a little bit of, I'm going to adjust the camera so you can see a little bit better. Okay, so I'm kind of just focus in on one of these. You can see it actually almost starts to like bubble up. Now I'm going to show you this one. Whoops, let's see, back farther, there you go. Okay, so that's going to set for just a second. I just ran to go get the cinnamon, and then I'm going to slightly, while it's very hot, just came out of the oven, I'm going to lightly sprinkle some cinnamon on top. I'm trying not to have a clump of cinnamon come out. Okay. Should have. Maybe I should get myself something that's, there we go. I don't want a clump of cinnamon, so, okay. There we go. That smells good, because now the cinnamon's heating up, too. And I'm going to do this one. And this, like I said, was step 2. And now, after I'm done putting this cinnamon on top, now we wait until these cheesecakes get room temperature, and then once they get room temperature, then we put another layer on top and bake it. Now we're ready for the last step of making Rhonda's famous cheesecake. And the first thing I need to do in the bowl here is put in 32 ounces of sour cream. Now, if you're doing a single batch, it's going to be 16 ounces. So I was not able to get 2 perfect 16-ounce tubs. So otherwise I just throw 2 16-ounce tubs in and that would be good. So I have 24 here. I could not find the 16 one, so now I'm going to have to measure. I usually don't have to do this because I usually don't have a problem finding 2 16-ounce ones. So this is 24 ounces. So I'm using a liquid measuring cup. I have to push this down, and that's right at 24. And I need 32. I already opened up the sour cream. I'm going to add, so that I have the full 32 ounces for a double batch. I'm kind of having to just like look this way here. I think we're almost there with it. In the meantime, I have preheated my oven to 425. Okay, now we're good. So I got the 32 ounces. I'm gonna get this all out of here. This is going on top, the last layer. I have one of my dogs right underneath me because they absolutely love sour cream. I need 2 tablespoons of sugar, so I'm doubling it, so I need 4 tablespoons. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 level tablespoons of sugar. And so I got the sour cream, I got the sugar, and then I need half a teaspoon of vanilla, but I'm doubling it, so a full teaspoon of vanilla. Oh, this is actually a half. Be careful when you look. So I need to do that twice. Okay. Always double check your measuring. It's always a good idea. Okay, and then a dash of salt. I don't like a lot of salt in my, especially my baked goods. Okay, get the residue of everything else off. And now I'm going to mix this up. I'm going to grab the rubber spatula so I can scrape my sides. Okay, I'm going to make sure nothing's sticking on the sides. Okay, and then I'm gonna okay, let's see if this is ready to go. I think it might be. I'm gonna get everything off the beaters. As much as possible. Well, it looks like nothing's stuck, so we're ready to go to the next step. So I'm going to put half here. I'm going to guess. I'll just see what I got going. Scrape the sides with the rubber spatula. A little bit more on this side. Okay, now I'm just going to spread this evenly on both of them. All the way to the edge. Make sure that you cover all the way to the edge. Oops. Okay, then I'm going to put these in the oven for about 5 minutes, maybe longer. We'll check it in just a little bit. I got a little bit of sour cream right there, which I'm just going to try to take off because I don't want it to burn. Because it's such a thin layer, hopefully it doesn't. Okay, so I'm going to pop these in the oven and then we'll check on them. The oven is preheated. It just beeped, and it's 425 for around 5 minutes. It might be a little bit longer, so we will check it in just a few. Cheesecake's in the oven. I do this thing for my dogs that they absolutely love. I would not recommend doing this unless you can really trust that your dogs get along very well. These are like the only 2 dogs I've ever had that I would do this with. They are very good at sharing. So I'm going to call them over and they're going to get to have a little treat. Tessa, Relay. Time to share sour cream. Come here, Relay. Be good. Share nicely. They're getting it on their noses and everything. You guys are going to have to just clean each other up, huh? Yeah. You guys are good doggies. Yep. Nice sharing. Nice sharing. Go ahead and check the cheesecakes. I think it's time to pull them. Let me have you come and take a look in the oven. And it's kind of popped up and it looks like it's done. So I'm going to pull these and I will show you the finished product here. Okay, so there are the cheesecakes. And okay, so the only bad thing about cheesecakes is they come out of the oven and they smell absolutely delicious, but you have to wait. You have to put them in after they get room temperature. So we're going to probably be out for another maybe half hour, 45 minutes to an hour. And then I will put them in the fridge and you have to wait 6 to 12 hours to eat them. So we will have it tomorrow and they'll be delicious. But don't try to eat them warm. You got to be patient. So 6 to 12 hours in the fridge. 12's better because then it'll be completely set up and ready to eat. Hi everybody, and well, now it's time to taste test Derrick's birthday cake, Rhonda's famous cheesecake. So we will cut a piece and we will try it out. Okay, we're gonna try this cheesecake.
This is like the best cheesecake of any cheesecake you'll ever have, guaranteed.
Yeah, we're gonna eat it.
That's right, Elizabeth.
Now, you can see the layers. Oops, there you go. absolutely delicious. So we're each going to have our own piece because we're not sharing this. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for subscribing. And if you don't subscribe, it's free. And please like the video. Have a great day. Bye-bye.